help you out. South Pacific Sleep Lab provides a personal study to help you find out how to get a great night of sleep. I've been having sleeping issues during the night lately for a number of reasons. South Pacific Sleep Lab evaluated me with an overnight study of my sleep pattern. With their professional staff, they were able to provide me with a diagnosis of my sleep pattern, and ever since, I haven't had much of a problem getting a great night of sleep. South Pacific Sleep Lab has locations throughout Southern California, including one in Fontana, and they will provide transportation to any of their locations at no cost to you. South Pacific Sleep Lab can help you out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just give them a call at 844-SAD-5050 to schedule your appointment today. That's 844-SAD-5050.
If you or a loved one was seriously injured in an accident with a semi-truck or an 18-wheeler truck, you need to act fast. I'm attorney Daniel Rudbari. I know how to fight truck companies. Call me 800-325-1454 for your free consultation. 800-325-1454. Truck accident cases are different than an auto versus auto accident. There are so many more issues involved when dealing with a truck accident case. There are federal regulations and state regulations, several different companies that may be involved. I can immediately gather the evidence, get you the medical care you need with no deductible and no copay to you, and get you the compensation and the money you deserve for your injuries. And if there's no recovery, there's no fees charged to you. I'm attorney Daniel Rudbari. I know how to fight truck companies. Call me 800-325-1454 for your free consultation. 800-325-1454.
KCAA is your CNBC news affiliate. We're the station that gets down to business.
With Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned into my weekly talk radio show called Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday at naturally high noon here out of the Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood, California with UBN Radio TV, that's Universal Broadcasting Network, and then every Thursdays at 7, Saturdays at 6 on my CNBC, NBC News Radio channel, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and everywhere on iHeartRadio, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, and now Spotify as well. And this is a show about hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal, and no K words at all. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. And we're going to start out today with my peace in, peace out shout outs. World peace through inner peace. Thank you to Chris Van Nest and Tiffany and Jennifer of Press LA for a fabulous invitation the other night to the Beverly Hilton to cover the Share Inc. 65 annual Boomtown Gala, raising funds for underprivileged children. So go to share4children.org. If you missed it, you can go to my YouTube to see my fabulous interviews with the Righteous Brothers, and Martha Reeves and the Vandellas actually not just gave me a soundbite on the carpet, but they rose to the challenge because I told them I had interviewed Sherry Payne from the Supremes, and she had sung for me, so they both serenaded me. So go to my YouTube to definitely see those interviews on my red carpet playlist, as well as Nichelle Nichols, who recognized me, which is always nice, from Star Trek, Lieutenant Uhura, and the president and chairman of Share Inc., as well as the chairman of the board. Both of them beautiful women, and one of them's a Kardashian. So I did say the Kardashian, but this was like a different context. So they're doing great things, raising a record. I think it's over 80,000. I think it may be even closer to 100,000 this year. That was their record they were hoping to get for children's charities that don't usually get government funding. So they're a tremendous support on that level. There was dancing and singing. This year's honoree was Laureen Arbus, who's a pioneer for women in show business, starting Lifetime, Showtime, and more. And my past guest, super lawyer Gloria Allred, was her presenter, and she told me in the end of the interview when I asked her, so what next, she turned and said, well, maybe Oprah should be calling herself the African-American Dr. Marissa. So that was kind of fun. I hope not too many people hear that. But anyways, flashing piece here with actor Matthew Modine, Nigel Lithgow, who's the producer and judge of So You Think You Can Dance, The Hiltons, yes, of the hotel kind, Laura Sangiacomo from Pretty Women and More, NCIS, and the MC Natalie Lander, star of ABC's The Middle. And I have to give a huge, beautiful peace out shout out to someone that was at my dinner table. He is Lenny Aaron. He's 101 years old. His picture's on the very first one that I gave you there at the bottom. He's the co-founder of Aaron Brothers Framing, and he sold it for $200 million. And he's so fabulous, down to earth, and was flirting with me. So there you go. Also a peace shout out to my new Mahjong buddies, Evan and Christina. And for those of you who saw the promo last week, the guest that was supposed to be here today was the co-founder of Make-A-Wish Foundation, Frank Shankwitz, and the bad news is he had to take care of some medical things. The good news is he will be on. We're reorganizing a date. We may even get him in studio instead of on Zoom. But I thought, well, I wonder what guest I'm going to get. And every time I say that, a beautiful thought pops in my mind. And being that it's still Mother's Day month, one of my newest friends, social media is wonderful for connecting people, especially when they keep liking your posts and you keep seeing their name. And I looked at it and she said, we got to get together one of these days. And I'm like, yes, when our schedules, and we couldn't get it. And I thought she would be the perfect replacement guest today. So I'm going to introduce her, Dr. Nelly Zarnoudi Zahiri. Did I do okay?
Farnoudi.
Okay, so I didn't do well. Is an author, keynote speaker, and a licensed clinical psychologist who specializes in working with cross-cultural families in the greater Los Angeles area. Her expertise is in the area of mindfulness, Eastern and Western integration, cross-cultural psychology, attachment parenting, conscious parenting, peace learning, conflict resolution, peace training, and National Center for Peace Learning, and the producer and host of the Family Mom Talk LA TV online and at Ambition TV. Please welcome to my studio, Doc Ellie. And a special bonus, and she might be piping up later, her beautiful daughter, Chloe. And y'all know my oldest daughter's name is Chloe, so what are the chances of that? And she'll pop in screen a little bit later, but we'll get a little applause for Chloe. This is for you. Pop over and get in the camera for a second and wave. Can we see her? There she is. Yay! All right, she's going to man my Dr. Marissa page. So if you are actually on the UBN page and I'm not watching the what do they call that? The typing there. The comments. Thank you. But I will be having Chloe work today, and she's going to be on Dr. Marissa Facebook page. So if you're not there right now, go and watch and listen there. Go to Dr. Marissa, give me the finger, a thumbs up, and then you'll be able to see it. And if you have any questions as we're talking today, we're going to try something new and actually respond. So I don't usually do that, but since I have some slave labor here, child slave labor, then we're going to use her and have her help us. All righty. So here we go. I have a friend who doesn't have an answering machine. She has a questioning machine. And when you call her, it says, "Who are you and what do you want?" So, Dr. Nellie, who are you and what do you want?
Great question. It's an existential question, isn't
Yes.
it? Well, I am a mom, and I'm on a mission to cultivate more peace, inner peace and outer peace, and to find sort of my place in this universal consciousness quest. And I am open-hearted and open-minded and willing to learn. And I have focused on sort of peace on this learning journey since motherhood.
Since motherhood. So before motherhood?
Not so much.
No. What was the event that kind of like pushed you into peace?
The birth of our twins, when I held them. The minute I locked eyes and gazed and felt the skin-to-skin connection, it was an awakening.
That peace is something that we should all be more focused on, or you in particular,
Yeah.
in family and out of family.
Yeah, every time it makes me, like, I get teary about it because I remember the feeling. And I remember always wanting to learn about healthy families and how to cultivate wellness and health and, you know, mental health. But at that moment, it was so clear that I thought, okay, well, what now? Like, you know,
Yeah.
show me the way, God.
right.
I started praying.
Right. And ask and you shall receive, right? So you're doing a lot of different work in all of those areas, as I read. So I know one of the questions that came early this morning, actually I woke up with it, is a practical one. I know there's moms out there right now with it seems like every other day there's some killing, shooting, violence around the world, violence at home, school shootings, and the kids know that we can't shield them. How do you talk to them about that when it happens?
In an honest and warm-hearted way.
Okay.
I think I've been tuning in more into finding a peaceful place within to make sense of it first on my own. And that's through meditation and just sitting with it and not reacting. I think just finding that spaciousness within, the time that we hear bad news or we hear something traumatic or we're exposed to illness or whatever the harm is, and the place where we're actually feeling relief or feeling some healing or feeling a response that is nurturing and loving and peaceful.
Right.
And so expanding that space or finding my place in that space first, just like, being on an airplane that is about to crash and you have to kind of stabilize yourself. So finding myself first and then moving on to the next step, which is now let's take care of the children.
Right. So I'm going to do something spontaneous here. Chloe, do you mind sitting close to your mom for a second? And we're going to actually do this in a not a role model way, in a real way. So do you listen to the news?
I mean, no.
No. Do you hear about things that happen in the world that are bad? Like, what was the last thing that you heard that was, like, horrible?
Like, I hear, like, a lot of, like, stuff where, like, people are, like, crashed in, like, these random cars and, like, bombs and, like, war.
And what's your reaction to that?
And I don't like it.
Okay. And what do you ever ask your mom questions about that?
Sometimes.
What do you wonder about that? Do you wonder why those things happen?
I wonder why, like, they're talking about bad stuff, and I'm wondering why they don't talk about good stuff.
I like her. So I'm glad you brought that up. because, there's a gazillion pieces of news that could come on the news, right? It's actually, some people call it the olds because there's nothing new. And the rule is if it bleeds, it leads. So there's something about human beings, and we can't blame it all on the media, right? Because we gravitate towards it. So they're trying to get their, attention. So they'll put something on that we know we're going to go, oh no, right? So that I heard, and I looked it up, we are there's less violent crime now that in the history of mankind right now than there ever has been. Isn't that great? Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be nice if there was a show that balanced out all the negative news with all the positive news? Wouldn't that be great? Do you know a show like that?
No.
This is the show. That's why you're talking, because you know that there's a lot of, what good stuff is happening right now that you know of around the world? Have you heard of people going and teaching people in third world countries how to farm and how to irrigate and how to grow things? There's a lot of people moving around the world helping build. Did you know that? Is your mom someone that's helping with kids and more peace and love?
Yes.
Yes, so that's two. Do you know any talk show radio hosts that are? No, we're not going there. So that's the first thing that I would like you to remember. So when you have friends that come and say, "Did you hear that horrible thing?" and it was probably a bad person, and they were probably a terrorist, and they were probably from, one of those bad countries. What can you say to them?
Um.
How about, we don't know for sure the facts. We don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Right? Because news is not always like, truth, right? So let's wait and see what the truth is. Yeah. Sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can tell she's already, you're doing a good job, because she's not even going into the, the drama of the hate and the difference and the devaluing, which is so good. I'm so proud of you, Chloe, and proud of you, Mom. That's great. That means you're practicing what you're teaching.
Thank you.
And it's, Brother Ishmael Tete is one of my teachers too, and he said, we could get to world peace in one generation if we raised our children right now with no violence, with a peaceful way to resolve conflict.
Amen.
Like just one generation. That's all it's going to take. So I'm hoping it's this generation. I hope you are the peace generation. How's that for, instead of a Gen X or a Gen Y, you're a peace generation? Yeah?
Yeah.
Can we do that? We're just coining it today. You are now a member of the peace generation. Like it?
Yes.
And I think you're going to be a leader in that peace generation. I have a feeling. Wonderful, wonderful. So when you work with the children as a global children's advocate, what kinds of work are you concerned with? Like, what can we be aware of and support?
Well, I know Common Sense Media is an organization.
That sounds like an oxymoron, but let's go with it. What is that?
Common Sense Media is an organization that is dedicated and committed to helping parents navigate through the technology and the media. And so what I find very helpful are the meetings and the community sort of tribes that you create, whether you're an educator or a psychologist or a mom and work with technology. It's a nice way to have these conversations. It's a brain trust where the adults get together and talk about challenges as a community. And it can be one of those global sort of platforms where we get together and share ideas and look at how the content of media is evaluated not just by experts, but also by the teens and the peers. So once you become sort of involved or a member of Common Sense Media, then you can share as a tween or teen your experiences of the media. It's kind of Yelp for media. And
Love it.
I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really wonderful. And so I think a platform like that for our generation, parents, is very helpful. It will bring more peace to our technology world, especially because I know many parents struggle with it, including myself, on a daily basis.
Yep.
Too much information, not enough information, how to navigate through just the use of technology.
Right, right. Can you pull that up? Common Sense Media, see what
CommonSenseMedia.org.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So on a local level, I think finding time, and I know this is difficult because look how long it took us to get together.
Hey, this is faster than I thought it was going to happen. The clock goes off for a year, so we're like well under. And if you've just tuned in and you're wondering who I'm laughing with, you are tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. My special guest today is Dr. Nellie, who is a licensed psychologist and a global child activist, I guess I could call you that. And her beautiful daughter, little 8-year-old Chloe, pops in every once in a while into the frame. And we're talking about, because it is still Mother's Day month, about how moms can really influence peace on the planet and in the ways that we are mothering and in the ways what are some things that moms are inadvertently doing that are not helping move us towards peace?
That's a great question. Well, I think for every mom to take time in finding, I know your focus is on balance, finding that balance for them. It's very individualistic. I think taking the time to find and hone down on that balance. What does it take for a mom to wake up in the morning and feel full and energized and excited about not just parenting, but also contributing to the world's peace?
Yeah.
And so if you're focused, which every single morning, Dr. Marissa, I wake up with that laser focus.
Yes.
I jump out of bed. And I'm like, okay, what am I learning today? What am I going to learn today? And how can I integrate that into then sharing and bringing peace into another family or another person's life?
Great.
So not just holding that
Yeah.
wisdom or information for me, but also sharing it with my neighbor.
Yeah.
And so it is this inside out process, and it's very challenging, and it's very active,
Yeah.
very energizing. So for every mom to tap into that energy, to want to have the intention of bringing more peace every single day.
Yeah.
It's not hopes and dreams. It's
Right.
not something to read and be inspired, but rather
Applied.
apply
Yeah.
and have
And
daily actions.
Good. Great. Great point. I have a practical exercise to emphasize that point. My children, from the time they were 4 and 6, every single morning, I would take them to school, and we would do 3 gratitudes on the way to school. And then we added a couple years later appreciation. So 3 gratitudes, general gratitudes. They didn't have to be all good, just the exercising the muscle of gratitude. And then an appreciation is what do you appreciate about your sister, yourself, and your mother. And we would do that, and they did that every single day until the first one left for college 2 years ago. The little one's leaving for college this year, and I carpool, and I make the carpooler do it too when I take them in the morning, and it is the most. I'm so grateful. We'll call the older one and have it on. So if you want an exercise to really hone in and get your children to participate in tools that bring about peace, gratitude, and appreciation are definitely one of them. So do we have anybody talking yet on my Dr. Marissa? Is there anybody that said anything? Oh, I thought she was. That's okay. In the meantime, what are 3 things that you're grateful for, Chloe?
I'm grateful for my family. That's one.
Yep.
And I'm grateful for my gym because I get to learn new skills in gymnastics.
Awesome.
And my third thing is I'm grateful for my school.
Oh, nice. And what do you appreciate? What do you appreciate about your mom? What do you appreciate about me? And what do you appreciate about yourself?
I appreciate that I'm a gymnast.
Yeah.
And
that your mom is?
That my mom is Dr. Nellie.
Okay.
And
what do you appreciate about me?
You're peaceful.
Oh, thank you. I did not pay her to do that. But I will be playing that over and over again. Thank you. Xie. This is a Chinese, I teach balanced Tai Chi Gong, which is a moving meditation. So this is normally the fighting hand. I'm going to teach you something new you can teach your friends. And so you close the fighting hand, do that. So it shows you're coming in peace. And then you hold the peace like that. And then you bring it down to your heart chakra and you go, xie. Can you say xie? Beautiful. And that's my Chinese namaste. So anytime someone does something for you or says something great to you, you say xie. Got it?
Xie.
Yeah. Not the other thing. It sounds close to something else, but it's not that. Beautiful. Thank you. So So, Dr. Nellie, when people come and, okay, I'm going to give you a good one. So, I actually had someone message me this. I am a full-time working mom, full-time caring for the kids. I get no support from anyone. And it's really difficult to think thoughts of peace when all I can think about is how am I going to make ends meet. So what do you say to someone like that?
That's a good one. I think in every family and every motherhood journey, you're going to find those challenging moments where you lose your breath and you forget who you are and you feel under tremendous stress that you're out of sync and you've lost your balance. And so in those situations, and I know for some families and parents, it's more frequent. These are I call them the red kind of brain zone, where your brain has left the green, peaceful sort of space where you're likely to be calm, receptive, and open-minded and open-hearted.
Yep.
And you've moved into this kind of hyper-excited, reactive state.
Right.
And so what I suggest is take a moment to find your breath. And I know it sounds simplistic, but oftentimes just pausing and catching your breath and taking a deep moment. Beautiful. I could feel that energy go through you. And so you take a moment to reconnect and get grounded. And remind yourself that in any chaotic moment, in any place, you could be in the midst of war and trauma. If you find your place in grounding yourself and finding your breath, that can help you get through the trauma and the pain and the suffering with a little more reassurance and calmness.
Yeah.
And so rather than reacting and being in a state where you're not finding that peaceful space, take a moment to breathe. So it's as simple as just finding your breath, catching your breath, taking a deep breath, and it could take a few seconds. And it's not going to
take time away. You're not going to
Right.
lose your place in line. You're not going to destroy your future. Just
That's right.
taking a free breath doesn't cost anything.
A free breath and finding your mind, really, and finding that space, the mindful space in which you are able to make better decisions.
Now, it's normal, right, to be angry with children. Yes?
Yes.
So, and, it's, I remember when Dr. Shafali was actually at Agape and they were taking questions, and I said, I really want to be, I'm supposed to be, right? Especially me, peace in, peace out, I'm all about peace, but I am like, I can be in such a good place. I'll come back from meditation and I'll see, inside out underwear on the bathroom, trash not cleaned up after and I'm just like, so coach me. What do I do?
I go through it every day.
Okay.
And Chloe will probably
Attest
be a
to
good,
that.
yes.
Yeah.
So I think I like your 88%,
Yeah.
that sweet spot. I think giving yourself that 20 to 30% window of screwing up, and it's okay. I think allowing yourself, not being judgy towards yourself, so that's where the self-compassion comes in, that yes, I'm angry at this moment, but I also have choices to make. And if I slip and if I'm reacting, say I yell, which sometimes I do,
Right.
I'm going to immediately or a little afterwards, not allow too much time afterwards, but try and repair and catch myself, apologize. I have never apologized as much as I have during my motherhood. So lots of apologies, lots of trying to repair and connecting with your children or whoever you reacted to through a hug, through a warm hug, heart to heart. I'm sorry, I messed up, I'm stressed, and this is why. So the love and logic behind communication and building trust, and also modeling that we're human. We're about to, things bother us and we get irritated and frustrated, and it's okay to mess up.
Yeah.
That's part of the
12%
peace
time.
learning. Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right,
That's peace
right.
learning.
I'm getting the signal that it's time to break and thank our sponsors who make this show possible. So we'll be back in 2 and 2. We'll remember it's all about balance. Peace in and peace out. 4, 3, 2, 1. And another child dies. Yes, every 4 seconds, someone dies from drinking contaminated water, and that's the bad news. The good news is that the Purity filtration system provides clean, fresh, and safe drinking water, and for every 2 water bottles sold, 1 is shipped to a child in need. Contact Heshy Siegel at kidsbetterworld.com for this win-win-win, life-giving answer to contaminated water today. Are you lonely, heartbroken, hopeless? Are you taking anti-anxiety or antidepressants and still anxious and depressed and now have side effects on top of it? Then 8 Ways to Happiness from Wherever You Are was written just for you. Dr. Marissa's newest book, a cross between I'm okay, you're okay, and you're still okay, and Don't Sweat the Small Stuff and the Big Stuff, will get you to happiness 88% of the time. And you will never hate yourself the same way again. Pre-order at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Books A Million. And welcome back. You are tuned into my weekly talk radio TV show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balance with Dr. Marissa Pay. P for positive. Every Tuesday at naturally high noon out of the Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood, California with UBN Radio TV, Universal Broadcasting Network, and on Thursdays at 7, Saturdays at 6 on my CNBC, NBC News Radio syndicated channel KCAA AM 1050 FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and everywhere on iHeartRadio. And today we are still celebrating Mother's Day month with a special, one of my great supporters on Instagram, Dr. Nellie, who is a child advocate, licensed psychologist, and peace mom. She's on a mission to promote peace around the planet through children and moms. And we were just talking about how to manage the humanness of being a mom. And I just came up with a little bit of an angel's advocate question for you, because, when we lose it and we are as long as we don't lose it all the time and we overreact. I know I've apologized all the time too with sorry for over yelling. I've done that. But there's the part of me that says, if you didn't do that, I wouldn't be yelling. So really, it's not me, it's you. So what do you say to moms who have that kind of a reaction? And be nice.
Right. Well, I think tapping into honestly and authentically evaluating our expectations as parents. I think it's really important to, every once in a while, and not just by yourselves, but also with your peers, with other moms and other parents, and not just with like-minded friends, but also a very diverse, inclusive group of mom friends or parents, to check in and listen to other people's lifestyles and choices and how they're cultivating peace inside and out. And I think this is where those belly-to-belly meetups, like I know you do yoga and beach yoga, and you do a lot of Tai Chi and peace learning activities, and you build and galvanize peace learning communities within your circle of friends and beyond. I think that's just wonderful. That's a really good example of how developmentally at each age and stage you tap into sharing wisdom and being honest about your expectations. I always say, if you want to enhance or increase happiness in your family, reduce some of those expectations, and don't put children under so much pressure that you can see happiness leave their faces. The micro expressions of happiness. I think that's really important, to be honest and take a moment, a pause where you're looking at your child and you're really paying attention to, are they happy on this journey, whether it's sports or school or spirituality, whatever journey you're on, because we're supposed to guide them, we're post guiding them. And we're not supposed to do much of that helicopter parenting that many of us from time to time, because of fear, fall into. It's a trap. And so having the awareness to not fall into that overprotective style of parenting, to allow that free space where they can tap into that free space, feel safe about it, cultivate happiness, grow and thrive in freedom and happiness. But we also have to practice it. We can't have double standards. We can't do something and then ask them to do something else.
Absolutely. That's why I just love the balance. So we don't want a helicopter, but we also don't want to, anything goes, right? Because as soon as you say, you shouldn't be so strict, then I know the perfectionist says, well, if I let them go, they're going to end up wild and shooters or whatever it is. But that's not true. There's a middle ground, right? There's a balance of some guidance, but then knowing that there's an internal being that is connected with the eternal energy, and they kind of have internal knowing of peace themselves. And I think that, going back and chastising myself for the, you made me angry. I think the best thing that I have been trying to implement in the last couple of years is nobody can Thank you for the privilege of being able to call you my mother. So, okay, I'm going to cry. I am so grateful and blessed to share balance, hope and happiness, and encouragement that we can all be at peace. And next week, it is the last week of the month, and I have a special guest, and it's going to be a surprise. So you want to tune in next week for my sexual healing with Dr. Marissa, the new Asian Dr. Ruth, because I'm determined to make pleasure a G-rated topic. So tune in next week for more hope and happiness on Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa Pei. That's P for positive, E-I. And remember, it's all about balance. Peace in. And
today, 75 degrees in Riverside, cooling off to 53 degrees tonight, then heating right back up to 72 degrees tomorrow. With the Inland News Update, I'm Blake Troll.
What if I told you you'd never have to make a house payment again? What if you could pay off much-needed home repairs and even create an income stream based on the value of your home? If you're 62 years old or older, you could be eligible for a reverse mortgage. Call Tim Harrison and find out if a reverse mortgage is right for you. Call Tim at 800-566-2475. That's 800-566-2475. Tim Harrison, branch manager, NMLS number 170960. Broadview Mortgage Corporation is licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. License number 170952. Registered with the Nationwide Mortgage Licensing System and registry number 813B544. Broadview Mortgage, equal housing lender. Remember, if you never want to make a house payment again, except for property taxes, maintenance, and insurance, that's 800-566-2475. That's 800-566-2475.
It's not just a home or a car. It's the 5 hours you spend in the kitchen mastering your epic wing recipe and the 3-hour family road trip to the tailgate party. While other insurance companies just see them as bundles or combos, State Farm agent Joe Amlani sees your home and car as the time and memories you put into them. Joe understands what your things really mean to you, and he's here to help you give them the protection that they deserve. Call State Farm agent Joe Amlani in Redlands for your home and auto insurance today.
KCAA Radio is proud to announce that the Tri-City Center in Redlands is our new home. We're fortunate to be located among some of the best businesses in the region. Among our neighbors are Ray Chiropractic, Brace Connection Orthodontist, Pain Solutions Medical Massage, Rent-A-Center, MVP Staffing Agency, Jenny Craig, Salon Centric, and many more. The Tri-City Shopping Center is located just off the I-10 between Alabama and the Tennessee exits in Redlands. The Tri-City Center is the mall with a heart.
This is Joe Lyons. Riverside Municipal Airport would like to now honor every American who has made the ultimate sacrifice in our armed forces.
May 28th is Memorial Day, and we remember Army Captain William D. Swenson, who served his country above and beyond the call of duty. On September 8, 2009, in Kunar Province, Afghanistan, Swenson and his team were on foot en route to a meeting with village elders when they were ambushed by 60 enemy fighters who bombarded them with rocket-propelled grenades, mortar, and machine gun fire. Swenson immediately returned fire, at the same time calling in and directing suppressive fire and aviation support. Several soldiers were injured and killed in the ensuing battle, and Swenson repeatedly risked his own safety as he rendered medical aid, assisted in evacuations, and recovered the fallen. For his leadership and bravery, William D. Swenson was awarded the Medal of Honor for service above and beyond.
This Memorial Day, the Riverside Municipal Airport salutes Americans' veterans, honoring especially all of those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Riverside Airport, itself a Civil Air Patrol site, works with 2 universities offering aviation degree programs, tower-controlled ILS, 6 flight schools, and an A&P school. Riverside Municipal also salutes the city's own National Cemetery. To all who have served above and beyond, to those who have slipped the surly bonds of earth, a heartfelt thank you from Riverside Municipal Airport.
Are you ready for a new experience? To see life from another point of view? New hope, new expression, new joy. This is your radio hour. Welcome to Viewpoint with Father John.
And welcome, friends. You are tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, or the World Wide Web at kcaaradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John, and I am your host, Father John Reed. By the way, you can follow the show on Facebook at Viewpoint with Father John, or go to our website at viewpointwithfatherjohn.com. This program is listener supported, so when you go to the website, if you click on the button that says support, you can then contribute to this program and help keep us on the air. All of God's children are endowed with extraordinary purpose and ability. I am on a quest to help as many as possible in fully realizing divinely inspired potential. Disposing of false narrative and embracing genuineness inspires clarity of purpose. My role is to help overcome self-imposed limitations in realizing one's spiritual potential. And tonight's program is brought to you in part by St. Teresa Open Catholic... Oh, boy, good. How about that, Martha? You ought to read this. Open Catholic Seminary. Progressive, independent, truly Catholic education for ordained ministry and lay leadership. For more information, you can call 1-800-790-9739, or you can go to their website at stocseminary.org. And we're going to have some fun with some of this tonight. I'm having so much fun just trying to remember how to make my lips work, as every week at the beginning of the show. By the way, for those who have served in the military, we are giving recognition, and I think it's very important that we do. So if you've served or someone you love has served, I thank you, because it's not just the veterans that pay the price. It's their families as well that support them. And Monday, I will be in the city of Brea at Memory Garden Memorial Park, where we're doing the Memorial Day celebration. And it's a really good time if you want to come out and hear some really good speakers on what this day is about. There'll be some military personnel. There'll be some people from the political side, senators and such that will come. And I'll be there as well to do some praying and do a little bit of talking. So if you want to come out and meet me over there at Memory Garden in Brea, I would love to have you come over there, and I'd love to meet you. And tonight I have my good friend Martha Bass. Now, some of you are familiar with Martha. She's a published author and also a workshop leader, and we're getting ready to do a workshop together on forgiveness, which is good because when I open that first commercial, I'm going to need a lot of forgiveness. But some of you have really fallen in love with her, so it's a treat to have her back. And we're going to talk a little bit about the workshop, a lot bit about forgiveness, and just things about life tonight. And so, Martha, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me here again. It's a pleasure to be here with you and Gabby and everyone else.
Always good to see you. And,
Thank you.
Now, do you have any plans for Memorial Day?
Actually, well, I'm going to be with Dr. Carol Bliss
Yes.
in Long Beach. Yeah, so we're going to have lunch and just celebrate and be grateful. Yeah.
Outstanding.
It's nice to be by the water.
Yes, it is. I keep forgetting she's by the beach. You know,
Yeah.
I knew that was her dream years ago, that she wanted to live by the beach. And
Yeah.
when she started working in Covina and teaching at the Claremont graduate schools, someone bought her some sand and some candles so she could at least...
Really?
Yeah, this is a long time ago. So
Oh.
she could have the feel of being by the beach while she was so far away.
Wow,
at
and
the
she
time.
made it a reality now.
Oh,
She's
she
there.
did.
Her
She
house
did.
looks to the ocean. It's just beautiful. Ocean view to the bay. So
Absolutely.
yeah, good for her. It's wonderful.
Well, last week I had a guest that we talked about grief, which is a very important subject.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about grief, I think one of the things that's also important to talk about is forgiveness.
Yes.
Because a big part of our grief is sometimes we feel guilty because we're angry with people who have passed. We feel guilty because we're angry with God sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And we're angry at ourselves because we feel that no matter what we did,
It
it wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I think it's important that we talk a little bit about grief tonight as a follow-up of last week's bereavement program. And I think the hardest thing for people to recognize is when they're angry with God, because particularly in Western Christianity, it's almost considered sacrilegious to be angry with God and to have feelings that aren't just love and sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's an arrangement. That's not a relationship. And we talk about relationship quite a bit when it comes to God. What were some of the hardest things for you to forgive in your world, including your relationship with God?
It's important to bring that. It's wonderful that you brought grief first, okay? Because my dad was killed and murdered in Mexico. Therefore, before even actually doing any forgiveness work, I have to go through the grieving process.
Yes.
And unfortunately, if we don't know how to grieve, if we don't understand the grieving process, then the mistakes that we do in the future become worse and worse and worse. But nobody teaches us that. So I'm glad that you have a show where you're talking about that, where you're bringing grief and forgiveness and the relationship with God, because it's just extremely beneficial for us to have a different point of view and to understand the actual process. And like you were saying about being mad at God, right? And feeling guilty of maybe I should have done this or I should have done this instead. It's also part of the process of grieving, being upset and, going through some tears and maybe feeling guilty and actually just the pain alone. It's horrible. It is. I don't have any other word to describe it as just a horrible pain.
I think that's a good way to describe it.
And so when I was going to school to become a spiritual counselor, and they told me about grieving and forgiveness, I was like, oh my God, no wonder, because I did not grieve my dad correctly. We were teenagers and we were raised Catholic, but nobody actually came and talked to us and say, hey, this is the process. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel guilty or mad. But so after I did that, then that's when the forgiveness comes.
Oh yeah.
And life forgives us all the time.
Yes.
I mean, if we cut ourselves, right, our body heals.
Right.
Right away, our body starts to do what it needs to do to heal. Same thing with us. So I think forgiving, it's an extremely, extremely important aspect that we have to learn. Otherwise, we carry that resentment, we carry that guilt, we carry that anger towards the people that did anything to us, and it demonstrates in our body and our life. Because we carry it with that, therefore our bodies get sick, we don't enjoy life as life should be, and we're always complaining without even acknowledging that we are complaining.
You said something I really want to hone in on, and that is when we don't forgive, we carry it with us, particularly when people have done things to us. And many of us have had really difficult childhoods. In my case, anyone who's known my growing up, our mother didn't want children. We didn't guess that. She told us. I mean, she came out. She would do stuff like, I had one of my brothers. She would drive us from Ontario, where we lived, drive us out to San Bernardino, leave us on a freeway on-ramp and tell us to wait there till someone who wanted children would come get us, and then she'd drive off. And in a drunken stupor. And then when she was sober up a few hours later, she realized maybe the police won't look at this as good parenting, and come back, try to find us, and then we get in the car and she'd scream at us all the way back to Ontario about how we were ruining her life. We couldn't quite figure out how to tell her that, this wasn't exactly a day at Disneyland for us either.
Yeah.
And in that house, each of us dealt with that in a different way. Two of us went and we got therapy in our adult years. We learned how to forgive her because she didn't do this because she wanted to. She did it because she was extremely sick. She had really bad mental illness and alcoholism on top of that. Another one took his experience and perpetrated on other people.
Of course.
And just kept the sickness going. And the other sibling became a victim to the world. Everybody was out to get her. And I don't say that to be mean. I mean, I love my sister. God rest her soul.
Yeah.
But she was always the victim of either, she had to quit college because the instructor was out to get her. She had to quit this job because her boss was out to get her. And that all these people reminded her of our mother. And so she couldn't get to that point. And the point I'm making, it reminds me of Viktor Frankl. who wrote a wonderful book, Man's Search for Meaning. And he had come across somebody he had been in Auschwitz with, concentration camp, excuse me. And he asked this person, do you ever think about our days in the camp? And the other man says, yes, I hate those Jews, those Germans every day. I think of them and I damn them to hell every day. And Viktor Frankl said to him, then you're still their prisoner.
Yeah, definitely.
And as long as I was angry with my mother, and I couldn't get to the point where I could forgive her and forgive me for how many things I held against myself where she wasn't doing this to me anymore, but I was, I couldn't have peace.
Yeah.
Now, I know you do coaching with people, spiritual coaching, and so I would guess that you get some of these cases. What do you do with those cases?
The first thing is to recognize where we are at. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to feel resentment and angry for whatever happened.
Right.
And also, it's important to know that forgiving doesn't mean that you're saying that it's okay what they did to you.
Right.
Because I think sometimes we have that little misunderstanding that forgiving someone means that it's okay what they did to us.
You're condoning it.
Yeah, and maybe you have to be with them again, or you have to allow them to be in your life, and that it's not that's not the point. You forgive. You understand that it's not okay. You forgive for you, not for them.
Right.
And you are able to set boundaries and say, enough. I don't need you here. It's not a healthy relationship, but I forgive you because I love myself enough to go on and have a better life, because we deserve better. We're here to enjoy life. Once again, I'm not saying that life is just, perfect and all sugar, but ups and downs, and we got to enjoy the process. But when we understand that it's not okay what they did, but we forgive for ourselves, it becomes a little easier.
Right. We become free and we let ourselves out of the prison. I've heard many people say that resentment is a poison pill we take, expecting the other person to die.
Yeah, and not only we are poisoning ourselves, our bodies, our cells, we don't enjoy, life and everything, because you always have that little voice in there that it's carrying that.
Always trying to get even.
Yeah, always.
And it comes out into every area of our life. You see people driving down the freeway and over to the smallest thing, they're ready to run somebody off the road.
Yeah.
That's a lot of anger. And last week we talked a little bit that one of my theories, many theories, one of my theories is that a lot of this is unprocessed grief, unprocessed anger. And what you don't put out front sticks out back. It's going to have to come out one way or another. Pre-ulcerous conditions.
Yeah,
now,
disease. It shows up as disease
in
your body.
I know medical science talks about that ulcers are caused by bacteria. What we forget is that a lot of that bacteria is enhanced by our emotions. Now, that doesn't mean everyone has an ulcer, has, a resentment they haven't dealt with. There's some people who really do have just a problem with their digestive system. But there are so many more that the ulcer is the direct result of unprocessed stress and anger. And speaking of unprocessed stress and anger, my board operator Brandon's looking at me through the window saying, hey, we're coming up to a commercial. And so if I don't take the break, I'm going to have to deal with anger and resentment.
But
and
we'll be back.
He's the man with the buttons. We'll see you in 2 minutes.
KCAA Loma Linda, your CNBC news station, where your business comes first.
The loss of a loved one is one of the most challenging experiences in a person's life. It's hard to know where to turn to make your loved one's final arrangements. Jesse Ruiz at Personal Funeral Planning in Ontario will treat you and your loved one with the respect you deserve. Jesse served in the Marine Corps in Desert Storm and understands what it takes to provide loyal, personalized, and empathetic service to those who need it most. The families of Michael Jackson, Brittany Murphy, Ed McMahon, and many others have trusted Jesse to provide them with the highest level of service and support. To work with Jesse, call 909-762-4027, 909-762-4027, or visit their website, www.4pfp.org. www.4pfp as in personal funeral planning.org. Jesse Ruiz and Personal Funeral Planning, veteran owned and operated, helping you plan a personal, lasting tribute for your loved one. www.4pfp.org.
This is Joe Lyons. Gateway Pet Cemetery in San Bernardino joins us now in a salute to the Medal of Honor winners on this Memorial Day.
May 28th is Memorial Day, and we remember Marine Private First Class Arthur J. Jackson, who served his country above and beyond the call of duty. On September 18, 1944, in the island of Peleliu in the Palau Group, PFC Jackson and his platoon came under heavy fire from fortified Japanese positions. Jackson moved forward and attacked a pillbox, first with automatic fire and then with grenades and explosives, demolishing the structure and killing around 35 enemy soldiers. He then continued under intense fire to charge one enemy position after another, in all taking out 12 pillboxes and 50 Japanese soldiers. For his exemplary determination and bravery under fire, Arthur J. Jackson was awarded the Medal of Honor for service above and beyond.
Gateway Pet Cemetery salutes our nation's service animals, from the gallant war horses who have carried our soldiers into battle to the bomb-sniffing dogs protecting our troops in the Middle East. Service animals have stood bravely alongside those who have defended our nation. Like their human counterparts, many have made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. As we all remember those who have fallen, Gateway remembers the animals who have also fallen to help make our nation strong. Gateway Pet Cemetery, serving you today for tomorrow's peace of mind.
And welcome back. You are tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, or the World Wide Web at kcaaradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John, and I am your host, Father John Reed, and I have my guest tonight, Martha Bass, who's a good friend, and we're having a great time tonight. I can't tell you the jokes she tells me during the commercial, though. I tell you, it's rough, and we're going to really have to practice forgiveness tonight. And I'm sitting far enough she can't sock me for that. So welcome back, Martha.
Thank you.
You know, we're talking about the importance of learning how to process our feelings, and when we don't, we become victims to the world.
Yes.
And I've run across people, and I'm sure you have as well, that are almost, it's like they're almost looking for a fight with everyone they come in contact with. And they know for sure that your whole motive of dealing with them is for you to do them over, get something over on them. And my experience has been, usually these are people who have not been able to forgive, who are so angry that they don't even know who they're angry at anymore.
Yes.
And you said something very important I want to hone in on. Forgiveness is not endorsing what somebody did. It's not saying it's okay.
Correct.
It's saying, I forego getting even. I choose to be free from this. And when we do that, two people are freed up, the other person and us. And I have a friend who used to tell a story. It goes like this, that someone is drowning in the oceans of life, and the people like you and I, spiritual coaches and priests and clergy of all kinds, they're in the boat of serenity and peace and recovery of life, and the person's in the water, and we throw them a life preserver, some of these spiritual principles, and they grab onto the life preserver with one arm, but in the other arm they have this huge rock, which is this resentment they can't forgive.
Yes.
And they're drowning, and we yell, "Drop the rock!" And they say, "It's my rock. You have no idea what happened to me." So they drown a little longer. And again we say, "Drop the stupid rock. It's my rock." And so finally, the pain gets so great, and they're drowning so greatly in the ocean of life, that they let go of the rock. They just give up with a little forgiveness. They come up on the water like a water skier. We pull them into the boat, and they look back and they think, "God, why did I want that rock? It was killing me."
Yeah.
But we can't see that until we see that. And until we forgive, we can't drop that rock. So how do you help people drop that rock?
Well, first, Also, it's taking 100% responsibility of where we are at.
Right.
That doesn't mean that it's okay, once again, that what they did, it's okay. Okay? Because, yes, it's not your fault that what happened. Let's just use you as an example. It's not your fault that your mom did what she did. Totally not your fault. But it's your responsibility to do something different with it because it's your life. So taking 100% responsibility that, yes, it's not your fault, but I assume responsibility to take a different approach to life, to have a different lifestyle, to bring a different quality of life to you and to the people around you.
Right. I would agree with that.
Yeah, taking responsibility of where you are and creating a change.
And you said something real important there, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but taking responsibility is not saying it's my fault for what they did. So that was a very important point. But go ahead, I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Yes, and also, once we make the decision of actually forgiving, I think that's 50% of the process.
Yes.
If we authentically make the decision, once again, I'm going to say, to do the forgiveness process from your heart, that's 50%. So the rest, it's being, aware and do little action steps, because it's important. Little rituals are tremendously beneficial.
Right.
Definitely. And also understanding that whatever the person did, they had their own reasons. I'm not saying, once again, that it's okay. But Wayne Dyer used to say, if you squeeze a lemon, you're going to get lemon juice. You're not going to get orange. So when that person acts in anger, like you were saying, that's because they have so much anger inside.
They're squeezing that lemon.
Yeah. If somebody acts in a bad way, in an angry way, in mean way, that's because that's what they have inside. So imagine all those things that they're carrying inside themselves. So the best thing we could do when we forgive them, yes, we set boundaries, but we send them love. We don't have to like them. You don't have to like who they are, but you send them love and blessings so they could go on with their journey and maybe find peace and, forgiveness or change their lives.
Which goes into another thing. You talk about love. And my experience has been, I learned this from my friend Chuck Chamberlain, Richard Chamberlain's father, the actor. And Chuck used to say that love is a divine paradox. When we go out to get, we come back empty. When we go out to give, we come back overflowing. In fact, I write about that in my book, Close Your Eyes So You Can See Me, that it's all about what we're giving away. And Chuck used to say, you are what you're giving away. If you're giving away love today, you're love. If you're giving away hate today, you're hate.
Yeah.
It's all about what you're giving away. And part of giving that away is we have to learn how to give to ourselves. Now, one of the practices I use with some people, because some people struggle so much with acknowledging that they're angry with God. And you talked about you have to fully own where you are now, and I truly believe that. And one of the principles I've used with some people, I don't have a one-size-fits-all therapy, but with some people, I actually have them write an anger letter to God, saying everything. Don't worry about spelling. You can drop F-bombs if you need to, just not on the air. And really have it out. And then I have them come bring it to the office, and I just listen. And what happens is once they own how they feel and get past the fear and thinking that they're bad because they have this anger with God, they now can go from what we talked about at dinner, from an arrangement with God to a relationship with God.
Yes.
Because how can you love somebody you hate, that you're afraid of?
Yeah, you
and
can't.
How can you get to love if you can't share your deepest hurt? Because it's not safe.
Yeah.
And so I think that letter helps get to the forgiveness, making God safe.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on
I love that. And I always, make my clients, not make my clients, but suggest my clients to write and to journal, and also those letters. Those are rituals that I say very beneficial. And, you could, one of the things I like is to burn them, throw them away. That is because you're letting go of that. You don't need that with you anymore. With different clients, I have them read the letter over and over until they realize, what am I doing? Repeating the same story over and over and over.
Expecting a different result.
Yeah, and another thing is to understand, because I have also clients that go, I don't need to forgive, but I don't even remember that anymore. But it's like, no, you don't want to talk about it. But
Right.
that doesn't mean you forgave and you let it go. Not pretending it's not there, it's not going to solve the issue. You're not going to free yourself from that baggage that you're carrying. So it's important to say, yeah, that happened, talk about it, let it go, and go on. Not pretending it's not there. That's not what we're talking here. Not sugarcoating or saying that, that didn't happen.
Very wise. And I have also found, in order to forgive somebody, I don't have to have them acknowledge what they did, because in some cases they can't.
Yeah.
In some cases of mental illness, and there are some forms of mental illness where someone literally cannot see their part in something, and they feel as much of a victim as you do, even though they're the perpetrator.
Mm-hmm.
And so trying to get them to change is taking action, hoping for a different past.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we can make anyone change. We got to take care of
Right.
ourselves. Nothing changes until we change.
And there's
so
some
we
peo-
do the part for ourselves. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's good. And there's some people who are really toxic. That's okay to say, I bless you to go do whatever you need to do.
Yes.
It just can't be in my life.
Absolutely. I love myself and respect myself enough to say, enough.
Exactly.
Enough. Yes, you did that, and I bless you, forgive you, let you go, but not here. Not in my little space.
That's right.
Yeah. And also, we're able to forgive someone, just in case someone has a question, someone that passed already. Absolutely. It's okay. They don't have to be here anymore if somebody passed. But I also believe that the more difficult one is to forgive ourselves.
Right.
Yeah. But before forgiving ourselves, we have to forgive others. And then the
Yes.
process of forgiving ourselves comes.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. That goes right in hand with what I talk about in my book, and I know you talk about it in your book as well. Tell them a little bit about your book real quick, and I'll go on from there.
Oh, yes. My book that I co-wrote with Dr. Carol Bliss, it's Love Heals. It's it's spiritual essays, little stories about the way she overcame her stroke and how powerful she is now, and where I, got into this business and my life on forgiveness also. So you could find it on Amazon or New List, Kindle. Love Heals.
It's a great book. I've read it myself. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yes.
And we had Dr. Carol Bliss here on the show as
Yes.
well. And so I want to make sure that we put a shout out in that. We were talking about how the fact that before you can forgive yourself, you have to forgive them. And one of the things I talk about in my book is love is the same way. It is a misnomer, and it is bad pop psychology, in my opinion, but I'm right, that in order to love others, you have to love yourself first. And that's just as backwards as everything else. It's by loving others that we come to love ourselves. And when I'm focused on trying to love myself and trying to work on my self-esteem, the more I work on it, the lower my self-esteem gets and the less I love myself. But when I get lost loving other people and doing esteemable acts, when I'm not looking, life sneaks up on me and gives me self-love and self-esteem that's healthy.
Yeah, because it all goes back to, like life is like a boomerang. Whatever you give out comes back to you.
I thought it was like a box of chocolates.
You don't know what you're going to get?
Right. Oh, no, that's Forrest Gump. I'm sorry. Keep talking like that, I know I'm going to get. It starts with the word snap.
But yeah, so when someone hurt you or did something to you that you just can't bear because it's so bad, if you bless them when you let them go, you send them love, then guess what? It's going to be easier for you because the universe or God just gives you that love back. Always. It's the energy that we send back that comes back to us.
Okay, let's talk about forgiveness and divorce.
Oh, yes.
Because that's a tough one.
It is.
Because
I was married
sometimes-
for 15 years, so yes, it is.
Yes, and that could bring out the worst in people. And I haven't seen viciousness till I've seen a divorce court. And some people can come right out. And I've seen where some attorneys really like to stir it up because the more angry you get, the more difficult it is to forgive, because when you're angry, you can't feel anything else. And while it makes the attorneys a lot of money, it's not good for life sustainability. And particularly if there's children involved.
Yeah.
I think it's important. Again, you don't have to agree with your ex, but you have to forgive them. And that also is part of a grief too, because you don't get married to get divorced. So when divorce happens, and I think there are appropriate times for divorce.
Yes.
I disagree with the church in this area. I don't ever think it's the will of God for somebody to be abused either physically, emotionally, or spiritually.
Correct. Yeah.
That's never the will of God. Don't mistake ritual for spirituality. They're two different things. And so when we learn to forgive the ex-spouse, that could be so freeing, because until we learn our lesson from the experience, we have to re-experience the lesson. But when history repeats itself, the price goes up. And if we don't learn to forgive, my experience is we get the same soup, different bowl. Next relationship, we get a chance to try to work that out. Has that been what you have found?
Absolutely. And I think, divorce, it's one, it's tough. It's hard. Because you are in that, you are in the darkness at that moment. You are in the black night of the soul. That's how you guys call it, right? You are
dark night of the soul.
that. Okay, you're going through the process of pain, and it's harder when you have to forgive when you're still in that process.
Yes.
And because, of course, divorce, it's painful because there's usually love involved and kids, it becomes harder.
Yes.
Why? Because I think it goes back to saying that it's okay what they did.
Right. And oftentimes, many divorces come out of a sense of betrayal. And it's hard to learn to forgive when you feel like you've opened yourself up to somebody, you were vulnerable, and they took your feelings and cut you to pieces with them. And again, it goes back to something you said earlier that I think is important. They're operating out of their own sickness. And they don't know that there's other choices that could be made. And, sometimes people get together and they just don't belong together. Two dinglings don't make a bell.
And to understand that if they betrayed you, they, cheated on you, or whatever it is the case, abused you, then once again, it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility to do something different with it.
Right.
Instead of creating an argument and make it more difficult for everybody involved, which is the kids and your family around.
And one of the problems I think we have in America, and again, this is just one point of view, is oftentimes I don't think we know the difference between love and lust. People think that they're in love and they're really in heat, as we used to say in my neighborhood. And we've had people where someone come in and talk about how much they're in love, and we tell them, lay down on the couch, don't sign anything. You're not in love, you're in heat, you're going to regret this. It's okay to date them. But because you think that that's love, love isn't self-centered.
No.
Love isn't about what I'm going to get out of this thing. Love is about how can I contribute to this great thing and make it even greater.
And love, it's also accepting the other person exactly as who they are. And so many times, we think we're in love, and they'll change. Oh, yes, they'll. No, if you really love someone, you got to accept them for who they are.
Right.
Exactly for who they are. So I think love, yes, you fall in love and it's beautiful. And I was talking to my friend this morning and we were talking about, I guess love, it's actually already when you're with someone on an everyday basis and you really understand who they are and you say, yes, I choose to be with you because I do love you the way you are. Not when you're in the honeymoon stage, because in the honeymoon stage, everything is beautiful. You mess around, you have fun, but it's like when you're actually making a living that you realize, okay, yes, this is love. I love them. Accept them for who they are.
In each stage of the relationship, because there's several phases in the relationship. You have the honeymoon phase that you mentioned. Then you have the cooling off period for a while, and then you have another period where you learn things about each other, and then you discover the other person's socks stink when they take them off. And when you can learn that that's okay, I don't have to go sniff the socks, okay? But you see everything about them, and you love them from that perspective, That's a whole new level of love. That's where you're going.
That is true love.
Right.
That is true love.
That's
Because
true.
when we have kids, we love them unconditionally, right? And they still have stinky socks, they have all that, but we love them anyways. And that's what you bring in the relationship, loving the person for who they are unconditionally. But sometimes we want to love because we're going to get, or we love expecting for them to do something differently. And if they don't do what we expect, oh, I don't love you anymore, I'm upset.
Right. Well, speaking of love, Brandon would love for us to go to a commercial at this time, and he's looking at me through the glass, and I know that look. So we'll see you on the other side of the break.
We'll be back.
Wishing for a little more information?
Alrighty then.
You'll get it here at KCAA 102.3 FM Riverside.
The loss of a loved one is one of the most challenging experiences in a person's life. It's hard to know where to turn to make your loved one's final arrangements. Jesse Ruiz at Personal Funeral Planning in Ontario will treat you and your loved one with the respect you deserve. Jesse served in the Marine Corps in Desert Storm and understands what it takes to provide loyal, personalized, and empathetic service to those who need it most. The families of Michael Jackson, Brittany Murphy, Ed McMahon, and many others have trusted Jesse to provide them with the highest level of service and support. To work with Jesse, call 909-762-4027, 909-762-4027, or visit their website, www.4pfp.org. www.4pfp as in personalfuneralplanning.org. Jesse Ruiz and Personal Funeral Planning, veteran-owned and operated, helping you plan a personal, lasting tribute for your loved one. www.4pfp.org.
This is Joe Lyons. Guardian Jet Center now honors every American who has made the ultimate sacrifice while serving in our armed forces.
May 28th is Memorial Day, and we remember Marine Captain Wesley L. Fox, who served his country above and beyond the call of duty. On February 22, 1969, in the Quang Tri province of Vietnam, then First Lieutenant Fox's company was attacked by a large, well-hidden enemy force. They came under fire, and almost all, including Fox, were wounded. Nonetheless, Fox continued to lead the battle against the enemy, personally taking out one enemy position. In the final assault, Fox was again wounded, but refused medical aid, choosing instead to oversee preparation of casualties for evacuation. His extraordinary bravery so inspired his men that they completely defeated the enemy and destroyed a large bunker complex. Captain Wesley L. Fox was awarded the Medal of Honor for service above and beyond.
Today, Guardian Jet Center salutes the men and women whose sacrifice has made the American way of life possible. Guardian, the most advanced fixed-base operator at Ontario International Airport, redefines the expectations of the general aviation business traveler, one client at a time. Single engine or cabin class aircraft give Guardian the opportunity to enhance the customer experience. The Guardian Jet Center is the gateway to Southern California.
And welcome back. You are tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, on the World Wide Web at kcaaradio.com. Also, we're on YouTube and Ustream and all these other different medias and iHeartRadio. So, see, I do have art. And this is Viewpoint with Father John, and I am your host, Father John Reed, with my guest, Martha Bass. And again, I want to give a little shout out to our board operator, Brandon, who's doing a great job. He's become a really good member of the family. And,
thank you, Brandon.
And I want to say a little shout out to She Who Must Be Obeyed, my lovely wife, Gabby, who's my special producer over here.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Always encourages me before we come in by saying, remember, don't say anything stupid. So she keeps me right on track. And tonight's brought to you in part by St. Teresa's Open Catholic Seminary. Progressive, independent, truly Catholic education for ordained and lay leadership. For more information, you can call 1-800-790-9739. Again, that's 1-800-790-9739. Or you can go to their website, which is a great website. I visited the website. It's stocseminary.org. And if you missed any of that, if you go to our website, viewpointwithfatherjohn.com, all one word, There are different links that you can go to for the seminary. If you want to help support the program, you could hit the support button. And a reminder that on Monday for Memorial Day, I'll be at Memory Garden in Brea. That's on Central in the city of Brea. At 11 o'clock, we're doing our memorial program, and love to see you there. Come on out, and I'd like to meet some of you who listen to this program there. And on July 14th, very excited about this, Martha Bass and I are doing a full-day workshop, 10 to 3. Is that correct hours?
Yeah, right. 10 to 3.
Pretty good for a guy with blonde hair.
No kidding. You're not kidding.
We're doing a one-day workshop on learning how to forgive and how to do self-love.
Yes.
They go hand in hand.
We will have the details later on.
Later on, we'll have the details. We're still securing the site. We believe it's going to be in Claremont, California, or as they say, the People's Republic of Claremont. And it'll be $35 per person. It's going to be a wonderful thing. It'll be worth your time. It'll be worth your investment. You will walk out with some really good information.
And lunch is included.
Lunch is included.
By Gabby.
And I don't know anywhere in Claremont where you can get lunch just for $35. So you're getting lunch and a workshop. That's truly getting fed body, mind, and soul.
And not only that they will be able to walk out of there with this sense of peace and freedom for them to start creating a totally different life.
And if you don't like what you hear there, we'll gladly refund your misery. So no questions asked. Well, we've been talking about forgiveness, and that brings me to mind of learning how to let go of old resentments, of a poem by Myrna Welsh called Broken Dreams. It goes something like this. As children bring their broken toys with tears for us to mend, I brought my broken dreams to God because I thought he was my friend. But instead of leaving him in peace so he could work alone, I hung around and tried to help with ways that were my own. At last I snatched him back and cried, "How could you be so slow?" "My child," he said, "what could I do? You never did let go." And a big part of this that we're talking about tonight is learning how to let go. How do you let go of something that feels like it's consumed your very soul? So how do you do that, Martha?
One of the things that I like to do is understand that our mind, okay, it's so used to holding to that story.
Right.
Holding the story of, oh my God, you don't know what they did to me, and poor me, and all of that. So when we are trying to forgive, when we're trying to let go of this story, that mind, it's giving us all the excuses of why we shouldn't.
Right.
Because it's afraid to the unknown, because we are so used to being the victim that we don't know how to be a different way.
And sometimes
it's like losing our identity.
I was just going to say that. It's like it becomes a part of our identification that we're not complete without this because it's the story that's been told for so long. What is the new narrative if we give that up? And who are we now?
Yeah. Who are we now? So once we understand that it's okay to feel that way, then you feel a little bit more safe, if you want to call it that way,
yes,
to change and to create a different. Because our mind and our ego and our mind, when you're trying to change, it literally feels like it's dying.
Yes.
It literally feels like it's dying. And it wants to prevent every little thing for you to change.
And I can give you a little medical reason for that. We actually build ridges in our brain, so to speak, certain routes, we call them ruts, that in our thinking, the neurons in the brain actually develop a certain path.
Yeah, neural pathways.
Right, and they're used to this line of thinking. And for you to change that is actually a biochemical change you have to make. And I talk about this quite often on the show. One of the ways we do that is with gratitude lists and concentrating on the things that are positive, which we have to make ourselves think of. Good self-care, such as taking a day off once a week at least. Now, I'm really bad about that, and Gabby will tell you that. I'm really bad about trying to take time off. But every once in a while, she'll see me. I just will go up to the Botanical Gardens in Claremont or to the LA Arboretum in Arcadia and turn off my cell phone, which is hard for me to do. I'm addicted to the crisis that comes through my phone because they need me. And, part of my identity. And to get lost in the forest parts of these gardens and just be, where I don't hear cars, all I hear are the squirrels, the four-legged ones, not the ones in society. Sorry. And I hear the birds.
You get in tune with nature.
I get in
with
tune
one
with nature.
you become one with nature, with God, because everything is God.
Right.
So you actually do become one, and just like, and that's important because you're recharging yourself, you're taking care of yourself, so you could go along and take care of others.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because as they say in the 12-step world, you cannot transmit something you haven't got.
That's right.
And so you have to spend a little time to got it.
Mm-hmm. And one that I do want to say before, we're done with the show, you mentioned gratitude. That is the final step.
Yes.
Once we are grateful for what happened, then you know that you really have forgiven. Not saying that it's okay that you say, oh yeah, I'm so thankful that this happened to me. Not like that. But you're grateful of the person that you have become, because you become better, because you forgave, you teach, and you become someone else. You let go of that victimhood, and you become this person that it's ready to conquer the world, that it's ready to become whatever it is that you're ready to show love to people and to receive more love.
That's absolutely true. And I hear that a lot in recovery circles, where people first will get upset because they hear someone say, I'm grateful I'm an alcoholic. They say, why would you be grateful you're an alcoholic? And then they say, because if I didn't have that addiction, I wouldn't have the life I have now. It wasn't pleasant. I wasn't glad I did the things I did. But I'm glad that that thing in my life created who I am now, because who I am now is better able to help other people. Without that, I wouldn't learn how to love. Without that, I wouldn't learn how to see people in a more authentic way. Without that, I wouldn't have the relationship with God that I have now.
Yeah. It's like, I'm never going to say I'm grateful that my father is gone.
Right.
Absolutely not. Of course, I still miss him, and I love him dearly, but I'm grateful of the person that I have become because of that, of the way that I accepted the situation, and now I can help others.
Yes.
Okay, I have learned what true forgiveness is, because that was not easy to forgive, to what true forgiveness is, and I'm able to share the love with so many people, and then I see them transform their lives. What a blessing that is.
And I want to go back and make this real clear to our listeners. Forgiveness is not whitewashing what took place.
Absolutely. Not at all.
True forgiveness is looking at it as
In a
it really
different way.
is, from a different point of view.
Yes, like point of view.
There
Different
you
point
go.
of view.
Hey, nice. You worked that in good. There you go. I'll have to give you an extra coffee mug for that one. Nice going. But it's true. We are all these experiences we've had. They make us who we are, somebody new now. And a big part of it is to discover, who is that person? Who am I now? And with people I've worked with, and I suspect you may have had this experience too with people that you work with, sometimes they discover, well, I used to not like this food, but I do like this food now. Or I used to like this food, I don't like this food now. I didn't know that I liked surfing. I didn't know that I liked hiking. Or I didn't know that I liked reading. I've had people who used to struggle with reading because of all the pressure that was put on them by an abusive parent, that they couldn't even look at a book without being stressed out. And then when they got past the forgiveness, they discovered they really like reading. There's a lot of good stuff in books. But they didn't get there until they completed the experience. They blessed it and moved on. And completing it means feel everything you need to feel, say everything you need to say, bless it because it had a gift to give you, and move on.
Yeah. Also, one of the things that I like to do now that I, forgiven the big things in my life and myself, which that was a big part also. Like at the end of the day, when I go to bed, just go through the day, whatever happened in that day, and just say, you know what? Yeah, I forgive myself for that because I should have done, but there's no should have because time is gone.
Right.
So you forgive yourself, you forgive that person, and then you're ready for the next day without carrying that luggage on a every single day basis. At night, you forgive, you forgive, you do your little gratitude list, and you're ready for the next day to really wake up with that joy of, woo, it's a wonderful day.
And
it is.
And when we do these other things, to learn how to say, and I love that part of myself that does that too. because it's doing the best it can at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And love yourself the way you are.
Yes. And there's a difference between self-love and egoism.
Oh, God, absolutely.
And we're not talking about conceit. We're talking about a true spiritual love, agape love from God, that realizes that we too were created in love. You know, I go back to this quite often, how in our creation poem, because Genesis is a poem, 6 times in a row, the God that created us looks at what God created and says it's good. All the way until when it gets to man, meaning man, woman, universally, there it said, it's very good.
Yeah.
So we have a creator that creates and falls in love with what it creates, and then we're afraid to be who we are, what God created us, because we're a once in eternity, not a once in a lifetime, a once in eternity expression of God.
Yes.
And when we learn to love that where that is, that's healthy love. And that's saying, as God did, let it be, it is good.
Yes, and loving your authentic self, recognizing that being the part of human that we are, it's being perfectly imperfect.
That's right.
So when you understand that it's perfectly imperfect, you love yourself, just your authentic self. And it's okay because it is very good, like you say.
That's right. And remember, we all make up the body of Christ, and even the Christ have to have a backside. And so there's some people doing their job as the backside of Christ. I know I'm going to get some calls on that one. Oh, that's okay. You know, viewpointwithfatherjohn.com. Give a little donation while you're writing me about how bad that was. But it's true, you know.
Yes.
And it's learning how to just be. And when we forgive ourselves for not knowing who we were in the first place, we can finally move on to who we were supposed to be all along.
Yes, yes.
And you said something very wise. We have to get rid of the shoulds, because we should all over ourselves.
There's no should have. I think that word should be out of the vocabulary because there's no should have. There's no way. It's gone.
But if it's out of the dictionary, you can say should be out of there.
That's right.
I know I shouldn't have done that. And lastly, for heaven's sakes, don't be afraid to laugh.
No, that's a need.
Dante once said that God is a comedian playing to an audience that's afraid to laugh. Laughter is one of the greatest medicines. And I tell people I work with quite often, there's 2 things you need, vitamin L and vitamin H. Vitamin L is laughter. Vitamin H is hugs. And you should have at least 3 helpings of vitamin H every day.
I like that.
Well, we're coming to the end of our hour, and I want to thank everyone. I want to give a shout-out again to our sound engineer, who's the best in the business, Brandon. I thank you, sir. You do a great job, and I'm grateful to all that you do. And to El Jefe, my wife, Cavi,
yes,
who makes sure I get here and make sure I'm well-fed. And I want to thank my guest, Martha Bass, for being here, and I look forward to, on the 14th of July, doing the workshop together.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much.
And we'll be here again next week, same bat time, same bat channel. My guest next week will be Morgan Lynn. Boy, what is with my reading of names?
I think I should come and read for you.
That would be nice. Tell me a good night-night story. Morgan Lynn, and she's going to talk about some spirituality and how to reset our life experience. And if no one told you this week that they love you, let me be the first. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
name's Craig Ebel. Join me Saturday mornings at 5 a.m. for my show, It's Polka.